Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer. Because today, we're tackling a concept that has literally captivated spiritual seekers, frustrated traditional teachers, and completely fascinated parents for decades now. We're talking about the indigo child phenomenon. And whether you're looking at this through a metaphysical lens or you just see it as a really compelling cultural and psychological framework, it's a topic that sparks an incredible amount of curiosity.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever met a kid who just seems like an old soul? You know the type, highly sensitive, fiercely strong-willed, the kind of kid who just outright rejects the phrase, "because I said so." Well, if that rings a bell, you might actually be looking at what the New Age movement calls an indigo child.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover what exactly an indigo child is, the origins of the concept, signs and core traits, the 4 specific indigo types, the common challenges they face, and finally, the spiritual evolution timeline.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. What is an indigo child? So proponents define this generation as spiritually gifted empaths who are on a profound cosmic mission. They're essentially considered old souls who are born with deep, deep intuition and an indigo-colored aura. And that specific color? It's tied directly to the third eye chakra, which is the center of wisdom and spiritual insight. Their ultimate drive is to basically act as cosmic system busters. They're here to challenge unjust systems and push humanity toward a much higher state of consciousness.
Moving right along to Section 2, Origins of the Concept.
Now, this esoteric term didn't just appear out of thin air overnight. It actually started back in the 1970s. A parapsychologist and synesthete named Nancy Ann Tapp first coined the term after she noticed a new wave of children who had these predominant indigo blue auras. Then, fast forward to the 1990s, and authors Lee Carroll and Jan Tober really brought the idea into the mainstream. They were the ones who defined the specific behavioral traits, like that intense sensitivity and total resistance to rigid authority. And from the 2000s onward, the whole concept expanded to include entirely new energetic generations.
Which brings us to Section 3, Signs and Core Traits.
So how exactly do believers identify an indigo? Well, they look for a very specific cluster of traits. These individuals are deeply spiritually inclined, but they process empathy so intensely that, honestly, it can sometimes be completely overwhelming for them. They're also naturally rebellious. They just refuse to conform to rules that lack logic. Plus, they're fiercely driven by justice, armed with incredible creativity, and they often act as lifelong agents of change. Oh, and all of this happens while they maintain a really profound, almost magnetic bond with the natural world.
But it isn't just about personality. Proponents actually point to distinct physical traits, too. Many report that indigo children have these piercing, unusually intense eyes that feel like they're looking right through you. Beyond that vibrant aura, they're also said to possess immense physical sensitivity, meaning they might react really strongly to things like processed foods, environmental chemicals, or even just overwhelmingly crowded spaces.
Let's jump into Section 4, the 4 indigo types.
Spiritual teachers actually break the indigo umbrella down into 4 highly specialized subtypes. First up, we have the humanists. These are the compassionate helpers, naturally drawn to health and social service. Then you have the artists. These are the innovators who express deep truths through creation. Next are the conceptuals, the analytical builders whose whole mission is to tackle broken, outdated systems. And finally, the interdimensionals, focused strictly on spirituality. They're considered advanced psychics acting as bridges between realms. The overarching belief here is that they all share the exact same mission, guiding humanity forward, but they just do it through very different, highly specialized strengths.
All right, Section 5, Common Challenges and Misdiagnoses.
Let's ground this narrative for a second, because it's really not all cosmic missions and creative brilliance. This intense energy often creates some very real-world friction. We're talking constant authority conflicts, intense emotional overwhelm, and severe anxiety. And because of their hyperactive energy and how much they struggle with rigid academic environments, they are frequently misdiagnosed in childhood with conditions like ADHD or autism. Throw in the fact that they feel fundamentally different from their peers, and they often face some really intense isolation.
Just look at this idea: questioning rules and refusing to accept "because I said so" as an answer. This right here is absolutely the hallmark of an indigo. I mean, it perfectly illustrates why they clash so frequently with traditional parenting and rigid schooling. Think about it. If a rule lacks logic or fairness, an indigo isn't just going to quietly ignore it. No way. They will actively push against it.
And finally, Section 6, the spiritual evolution timeline.
To understand this whole perspective, we really need to zoom out a bit. You see, the Indigo Children are viewed as just the first wave of an ongoing spiritual evolution. The Indigos, emerging in the 1970s, were the fiery, rebellious system busters paving the way. But by contrast, the Crystal Children, who began arriving in the 1990s, brought a much more gentle, peaceful, and healing energy. Their purpose was essentially to harmonize the disruption that the Indigos caused.
It's fascinating to watch how these generational waves build upon one another. So the 1970s Indigos clear the path by breaking down the old rules, right? Then in the 1990s, the Crystals bring healing and compassion to help stabilize society. After that, born primarily after 2000, the Rainbow Children arrive to spread joy, adaptability, and unconditional love. And finally, around 2008, the Diamond Children emerge. These are the visionaries meant to shape our reality and guide humanity's next massive leap in consciousness.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative question. Whether you believe Indigo Children are literal cosmic visionaries, or you simply see this as a really powerful psychological framework for understanding highly sensitive nonconformists, what can they teach us about our future? Are the rigid systems we've built over the years truly serving us, or do we desperately need this rebel energy to push us toward a more compassionate, authentic world? Let that marinate for a bit. Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.